with that, let's do that. Let's look at the magical item creation. Oh goodness. The D&D Beyond search feature is going to, kick me in the butt, isn't it? Okay, here we go, guys. Deep dive. Magic items are a DM's purview, so you can decide how they fall into a party's possession. As an option, you can allow players to craft magical items. The creation of a magic item is a lengthy, expensive task. Going on. To start, a character must have a formula that describes the construction of the item. Okay, another thing the Artificer does not have. The character must also be a spellcaster with spell slots and must be able to cast any spells that the item can produce. Okay. So you mean the Artificer can produce items that it can't use for spellcasting? Okay. All right. Moreover, the character must meet a level minimum determined by the item's rarity, as shown by the crafting magic items table. And we'd have to look at that. For example, a third level character could create a wand of magic missiles, an uncommon magic item, as long as the character has a spell slots and can cast magic missile. The same character could make a +1 weapon, no particular spell required. You can decide that certain items also require special materials or locations to be created. I like that. That's actually kind of cool. Like it has to be made in this specific location. For example, a character might need alchemist supplies to brew a particular potion, or the formula of a flame tongue might require the weapon to be forged with lava. Ooh, so this might be where the right tool of the job comes from, right? Because they need a certain trade tool in order to create certain magic items. However, in the actual class, this has no say on the magic items that you create. You don't really need any specific tool, unless I missed it, that you have to have open and available and using in order to create it. So far, this is the Artificer as a class doesn't have to do any of these things. And if you take a look at it, oh, well, it's just the Artificer, and because they're an Artificer, they break all the rules. Yeah, okay, that's fine, right? But it's the dissonance to me that kind of bugs me a little bit. An uncommon magical item takes 20 days and 500 gold pieces. An uncommon magic item. Let's see, what level does the Artificer get uncommon magic items? Level 2 for free. They get all of these. All of these for free. Brett can trade. For the infusions, it's like making prototypes, but can be easier lost. But if you're making a permanent item, it'll cost you. That makes sense. Yeah, and that's good. Thank you for bringing that up, Brett. That is true, because with these, you can make them and then destroy them, right? They're not permanent if you keep changing. I mean, they are permanent if you never change it. Yeah, your infusion remains in the item indefinitely. So unless you change it, it is permanent. However, you are correct. We're saying that it doesn't have to be permanent and they can change it to be something else. Arguably, that's even more powerful because you can just, you don't have to carry it around. They can do it on a regular basis is the thing, right? They sure, the thing isn't permanent, but they can make it at any time, which is still about the same mechanically because they can do it whenever they need it. And so, yeah, you can change it out and it's not permanent, but it's almost like it's permanent because it's always available. Because again, you don't have any material components at all. You don't pay for it. It's completely free and you still get to use it anytime that you really need it. But it is something to consider. If a spell will be produced by the magic item created, the creator must expend one spell slot of the level for each day of the creation process, right? So another thing that the Artificer does not have to do, it does not have to take a spell and use it up every day. Excuse me. Unless they kind of just like factored it into the subclass, like they get one less spell than everyone else. I don't know. The spell's material components also must be at hand throughout the process. If the spell normally consumes those components, they are consumed by the creation process. If the item will be able to produce the spell only once, as with the spell scroll, The components are consumed only once by the process. Otherwise, the components are consumed once each day of the item's creation. Multiple characters can combine their efforts to create a magical item if the item meets the level prerequisite. That would be interesting if the artificer could team up with people. They don't get to; they do it all by themselves mechanically. But it would be interesting if they could like have people come in on the process. Each character can contribute spells, spell slots, and components as long as everyone participates during the entire crafting process. Each character can contribute 25 gold piece effort worth each day spent helping to craft the item. The crafting item system in D&D 5e, that's it. That's it right there. However, the Artificer is now a completely new class. And in my opinion, like, because they're there, we have forgotten about this. I've never seen people or characters at a table create magic items before. I've seen plenty of people who do so through the Artificer class. Is that even something that you would consider, right? Is this something you would still want to do? Or if you plan to create magic items with your character, would you just go Artificer? Because yeah, it's easier, it costs nothing, and you can do it every day. And again, this is just my opinion, right? Artificer is an incredible class. It's seriously OP. A lot of people want to play it. It's awesome. They did a good job. However, in my opinion, the Artificer does not create the Ludo narrative that I want for a couple reasons. One, if we were to just make it D&D 5e, it does not coincide with what the mechanics already are with crafting magical items. That's one. Number two, when I want to play an Artificer, I want to be an inventor. I want to create new things. I don't want to like create the thing that I saw at the shop that one time, right? I want to be able to create, invent, put things together to make different things. I want to hodgepodge different items and resources to create something unique. But what if they just had like a list, right? A list of abilities instead of magical items, right? It would possibly even be the same amount or even less than what they have optional available to them. Might even be less complicated. But they just have a list. They're like, okay, here's a series of effects you can do. Here, this one gives you advantage on something. This one gives you, a resistance to something. This one gives you a movement speed of something. This one gives you a heightened movement speed. This one helps you imbue a status effect on somebody else. And each of these have like certain tiers or time or components or costs to them, right? That would be so cool. And then it could be like, oh, well, if I wanted to create this one, right? And I'd be maybe limited by the amount of the level that I have. I want to take this one and I'm going to make, I'm just going to give you resistance to something simple, magic item, good, right? And give that to you. However, later levels, I'm like, I can imbue like multiple of these effects in one magic item. I'm going to take resistance and I'm going to take like maybe like a cantrip, take that. And then I'm going to take, during the casting of that, everyone around you has to make a saving throw or a status to be a status effect. I'm going to make that all into one item and then give it to them. Right? That has a cool scaling effect. And then you can give that item to them. And now it's more of like an uncommon or a rare item, which artificers can replicate those anyways. And they could still maybe have like replicate magic item. But this way that they can like create their own. And because of that, they have made something specific and unique to the character that they're giving that to. I don't know. In my brain, that sounds really fun to me. I have to be honest with myself, is like some players don't want the creativity. Some players want something that's already set so they don't have to think of it. And that's completely a fine way to play, right? So if they look at like, okay, these are the things that I get to create, right? It's simple, it's easy. I choose one, already has effects, already has something that coincides with it. I just pick it, there you go, right? Granted, the number of options is still complicated, probably complicated for that player. But in essence of what I'm suggesting is like, you don't have something that you can just choose and use. It's something that you kind of like have to think about and create, which can take some time. Either I can say, I'll do the jug of alchemy and I don't have to think about what it looks like or how it works. It just does it. Or I can be like, I have this plus for other things and now I get to create anything I want. and now what it looks like and how it works, and that's amazing, right? So there's like two different things of how you can play, and this Artificer definitely caters to more of the former, which for a game that's aiming to be inclusive might be the better option. I'll admit that it might be the better option, but for me personally, as is not the ludo narrative that I want in an Artificer. Brett Coltrane, I half agree. Good. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. And it's good. It's good that you disagree, and I'm glad. And honestly, I hope that you guys have more fun with this class than I do. To me, it's probably an incredibly hard thing to do to create an Artificer that's effective, that people want to play it with the cost that would come with it. I think this is how more or less they should have done the Wizard. I do. With the Wizard having to pay for things, I think that this is more of what they should have done with the Wizard, right? Maybe like the infusions, the spell scrolls that they find, instead of writing it in their spell book, they can just use it for like a day, and like once they use it, then they can't use it for another day or something like that. I don't know. But something a little different I think would be interesting.